The moon hung heavy and full in the ink-black sky, casting eerie shadows through the gnarled branches of the ancient forest. My heart pounded in my chest as I trudged through the dense underbrush, the damp leaves beneath my feet crunching like brittle bones. I was lost, hopelessly lost in the haunted forest. It had all started as a dare. My friends and I had gathered around a campfire on the outskirts of town, sharing ghost stories and daring each other to prove our bravery. That's when Jacob, the daredevil of our group, suggested we visit the old Willow forest, a place rumored to be cursed by generations past. The forest was said to be home to malevolent spirits and vengeful ghosts, and nobody dared to enter it after dark. As the bravado flowed through my veins, I had agreed to the dare, convinced that it was all just a silly superstition. Little did I know that this decision would lead me to a nightmarish ordeal I would never forget. The forest felt alive, as though it had eyes watching my every move. Twisted trees loomed overhead, their branches forming grotesque, skeletal fingers that reached out to ensnare me. The cold, damp air seemed to whisper eerie secrets in a language I couldn't understand. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beyond my line of sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. I had been walking for what felt like hours, yet every step I took seemed to lead me deeper into the heart of the forest, further away from the safety of the campfire and my friends. Panic welled up inside me, threatening to consume me whole. I called out for Jacob, Sarah, and Mark, but my cries were swallowed by the oppressive silence of the forest. Suddenly, I heard a faint rustling sound behind me. I turned, my heart pounding in my chest, but there was nothing there, just the swaying branches and the sinister darkness of the woods. I continued on my path, trying to dismiss the unease that gnawed at the edges of my mind. The forest grew denser, and the trees seemed to close in around me, forming an impenetrable wall of darkness. I could no longer see the moon or the stars, and the forest floor became uneven, threatening to trip me at every step. Fear settled in the pit of my stomach, and I quickened my pace, desperate to escape this nightmare. Then, a voice echoed through the trees, soft and mournful. It was the voice of a child whispering my name. "Emily," it called, the words carrying on a ghostly breeze. I froze in my tracks, my breath catching in my throat. My name had never sounded so haunting. Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized that I was truly alone in this malevolent place, and whatever had called my name was not of this world. But the forest was playing tricks on my mind, wasn't it? That's what I told myself as I continued to walk, my steps hesitant and filled with dread. I lost track of time as I wandered deeper into the forest, each step taking me further from reality and deeper into the unknown. The shadows danced around me, taking on grotesque forms that seemed to mock me. I could hear whispers all around me, indistinct voices that seemed to come from every direction. They spoke of pain, loss, and despair, and their words sent shivers down my spine. My flashlight flickered, its feeble beam of light barely cutting through the suffocating darkness. I fumbled to change the batteries, my trembling hands making the task more difficult than it should have been. When the light finally came back on, I wished it hadn't. In its beam, I saw the twisted and contorted figures of the forest's malevolent spirits. They were pale, gaunt specters with hollow eyes that seemed to stare into my very soul. I stumbled back, my heart pounding in my chest, and I turned to flee, but I had no idea which way was out. The forest had become a maze of shifting pathways, leading me in circles. The child's voice called to me again, closer this time, as if it were just beyond the next thicket of trees. "Emily, help me!" Tears streamed down my face as I followed the voice, my fear and desperation pushing me forward. I couldn't leave a child to suffer in this cursed place, could I? But with each step, the forest grew darker, and the whispers grew louder, filling my ears with their haunting lament. Then, just as I thought I couldn't take it any longer, I stumbled upon a clearing. The moonlight spilled into the small space, revealing a twisted, gnarled tree at its center. Hanging from its branches were the lifeless forms of my friends, their eyes wide with terror and their faces contorted in agony. My heart stopped as I realized that they had become the latest victims of the forest's malevolence. I fell to my knees, unable to tear my gaze away from the gruesome sight before me. The child's voice was gone, replaced by a chorus of wails and moans that seemed to rise from the very earth itself. The forest had claimed them, and now it hungered for me. I closed my eyes, ready to accept my fate, when suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder. My eyes shot open, and I gasped in terror as I saw a spectral figure standing before me. It was a young girl, her eyes hollow and empty, her skin pallid and translucent. She held out her hand to me, her voice soft and mournful. "Come with me, Emily. It's the only way." I hesitated for a moment, torn between the terror of the forest and the unknown fate that awaited me with the ghostly child. But I knew I couldn't stay in this cursed place any longer. I took the ghostly girl's hand, and together we walked into the darkness, leaving behind the haunted forest and its tormented souls. As we faded into the shadows, I couldn't help but wonder if I had truly escaped, or if I had simply become another lost soul, doomed to wander the old Willow forest for all eternity. The forest had claimed me, body and soul, and I would never be the same again.